All right, let's fire up the steam engines and head back to the 19th century. Today, we're digging into a pretty amazing story, one full of ambition, incredible innovation, and yeah, a huge human cost. We're talking about Belgium's Industrial Revolution. Okay, let's get right into it. The central question here is a real head-scratcher. I mean, Belgium, as we know it, didn't even exist until 1830. So how on earth did this tiny, brand new nation manage to beat giants like France and Germany to the punch? It's a story that's way more surprising than you might think. Now, of course, the land itself had been around for centuries. This map actually shows the old Roman province of Gallia Belgica, so it's always been a kind of crossroads for culture and trade. But in the 19th century, this ancient land was about to be completely reforged, not by armies, but by coal, iron, and steam. To really get what happened in Belgium, we've got to zoom out for a second. This wasn't just a Belgian thing. It was part of this massive tectonic shift that was changing, well, pretty much the entire world. So what do we actually mean when we say industrial revolution? Well, at its core, it was this huge pivot. For literally thousands of years, life revolved around farming and making things by hand. Suddenly, everything was being reorganized around factories, machines, and mass production. And what I love about this is just how stark the contrast is. I mean, really think about it. Before, your life was probably tied to the seasons in your village. Afterwards, it was all about the factory clock, the big anonymous city, and the relentless speed of a machine. It changed absolutely everything. And this image really drives that point home. This became the new landscape. Smokestacks replaced trees on the horizon. The quiet sounds of the countryside were drowned out by the constant hum and roar of factory towns, as millions of people flooded into cities looking for a new life. Okay, so let's zoom back in on our main event. How did Belgium, this tiny new country, manage to grab hold of this revolutionary power so fast and so effectively? Well, it wasn't an accident. It was a massive gamble that, for the nation, paid off big time. Turns out, Belgium had this kind of perfect recipe for success. First, you've got a new country, just itching to make a name for itself. You've got a government that's not just sitting back, it's actively funding industry. It was blessed with amazing natural resources, especially coal. And, the crucial part, it had a big plan to tie it all together. The engine room for this whole revolution was buried deep underground, mostly in one specific region, the French-speaking south called Wallonia. That's where all the raw materials were, just sitting there, waiting to be dug up. So Wallonia's coal fields, they were the battery pack for the entire operation, fueling all those steam engines. Then you had these huge textile industries in cities like Ghent. Get this, textiles employed about half of the entire industrial workforce. And the steel industry in the edge was just exploding. In a little over a decade, Belgium's cotton factories were the most advanced in all of continental Europe. Just incredible. But who were the people actually powering all these machines and digging in these mines? You know, this old Belgian saying, it just hits the nail on the head. See, unlike in Britain where workers often cut all ties to the countryside, the Belgian worker was different. They were part factory worker, part farmer. So how is that even possible? The answer, and this was the truly brilliant part of the whole Belgian strategy, was the railway. The national railway system was an absolute game changer. And Belgium didn't just dip its toe into trains, it went all in. In 1835, its very first king, Leopold I, commissioned the first railway on the entire European continent. By the 1840s, this dense web of rails was connecting the big industrial cities to tiny rural villages. And by the 1900s, Belgium was a world leader, exporting its railway technology all over the globe. And this is where it all comes together. This railway network created a social system that you just didn't see anywhere else. A worker could keep living in their village, maybe tend a little garden, and stay connected to their rural roots. Then they'd hop on a train and commute to the city for a grueling factory job. And the state made it all possible by offering these incredibly cheap train tickets just for workers, creating a mass commute on a scale nobody had ever seen before. But, and this is a huge but, all of this progress, this amazing economic boom, it came at a staggering human cost. While the nation as a whole was getting rich, the lives of the very people building that wealth were often short, brutal, and just filled with hardship. Just look at these numbers. A tailor working from home would be at it for 12 hours straight for just a few shillings.
In the mines, the hours were even longer for maybe 10 shillings a week. And yeah, until laws started to slowly change things, kids were working full shifts down there, and women were often doing the exact same work as men for even less pay.
And what could you even buy with those wages? Not enough to live on. This statistic is it's absolutely shocking. On average, the diet of a working class family was short on protein by 26%. They were literally building a nation while their own bodies were breaking down from hunger. And the hardship went way beyond just being hungry. The mines were death traps, constant risks of cave-ins, explosions, poison gas. The tunnels themselves were so cramped, sometimes only 3 or 4 feet high, that they permanently deformed the bodies of the workers. And whether you were in the city or the country, your home was often just one single room for the entire family. So, in the middle of all this hardship, how did people cope? Well, this chart tells a really interesting part of the story. The local pub became absolutely central to life. Belgium had one pub for every 35 people. Compare that to England, with one for every 270. It was an escape, a social hub, it was everything. And this brings us to what might be the most crucial, long-lasting legacy of this entire period. All of that industry, all the coal, the steel, the wealth, it was all packed into French-speaking Wallonia. Meanwhile, the Dutch-speaking North, Flanders, stayed mostly agricultural and poor. And this wasn't just an economic gap. It created a deep fault line that ran right through the heart of this new nation. It's a divide that would spark political and cultural tension for the next 200 years, and you can still see its effects in Belgium today. And that really brings us to our final thought. The story of Belgium's Industrial Revolution is this incredible reminder that the economic choices made in the past, they don't just stay in the past. They lay the very foundation of a nation's identity, its wealth, and yes, even its deepest divisions for generations and generations to come. Thanks for joining us.